All right. In honor of Father's Day, I'm going to do a video by myself on the life of being a stepdad. Lori will not be here. She's going to do one next week or next week or so about being a biological mother in a blended family. So I am the stepdad in our blended family. I did not have any kids of my own. So when I married Lori, I became the other dad, the stepdad, or my mother's husband, or Joey. I've heard them all, and that's fine. But so today, stay with me. We're going to do a episode on the Christ-centered marriage and blended family about the life of a stepdad. So stay tuned. All right, we are going on a trip this weekend, so I would not be home for my boys to celebrate Father's Day. So we did our Father's Day early. Today is Thursday, 3 days before Father's Day, and I got my Father's Day gift. My wife gave me a card, and because she's a good wife, and she always remembers the important things. I try to. She's better at it than I am. So I got this shirt. They're really good about these shirts. It says, "I'm not the stepdad, I'm the dad that stepped up." And it's a cool shirt, and it really means a lot. And it means a lot to her and the boys, because this is what they think. This is how they view me. Sometimes I don't think this. Sometimes I think I'm the other person in the marriage. I'm the husband of Mom, or I'm Joey, or sometimes I don't feel like that I'm a real father figure. But so we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the struggles and the victories. The victories. I had a recent victory about 8 months ago. Not in a year, but yeah, about a year ago. We started a journey on a big victory with my youngest boy. So we're going to be looking at a few books, and this is going to be off scripted. I don't have a script, so it's going to be off the top of my head. So bear with me. I might and and pause a little bit. The main book we're going to talk about is Building Love Together in Blended Families. And it's by Gary Chapman and Ron Deal. And this is a book that talks about how blending the 5 love languages into your blended family helps you have a better family structure. So if you have a blended family, if you have a step family to where you have 2 parents coming together with different kids, or like our family had a mother with 3 boys and a man that's never had any boys, that's been married but never had any kids of his own. They get married, and now we're in a blended family. Another book I'm going to refer to is The Smart Step Family by Ron Deal. If you are getting married again, or you're marrying someone that's bringing kids into a relationship, or maybe you have kids and you're going to marry somebody that's not the parent of your kids, whether they bring kids or not, I recommend this book. And for all the dads out there, for Stepfather's Day, Smart Stepdad. I was given this book about 14 years ago, and I said, thank you. I'll read this book. I don't think I read more than a couple pages. And man, God bless this man. And if somebody that was getting married to somebody that's got kids, or you have kids and you're going to marry somebody that's going to make you a stepdad, I would recommend you read this book. I would give you this book if you need it. So about 14 years ago, I proposed to Lori, and I knew she had 3 boys. Her oldest boy was 11 going on 12, and second boy was 5 going on 6, and the youngest boy was 2 going on 3. When we got married, their ages was 12, 6, and 3. So you had a big wide spectrum. And my relationships with these 3 boys were all different. The oldest boy was probably the easiest. It wasn't, when I say the easiest, I don't mean problem free. I don't mean perfect. I don't mean just the most fun you can ever have. And I was the best stepdad he could ever hope for, or he was the best stepson I could ever hope for. But it was easier for us because we had already established a relationship to where I had known him previously through church, and he and I had a little church service relationship to where I was one of the helpers in the youth group, the kids group, and so we had interacted a lot, and we had a good friendly relationship, and we had played basketball together at the church. You know how you get together in the church and all the men and the boys get together and they play out in the church parking lot. And he would play on my team a lot. And so me and the oldest boy had a good bond. The youngest boy, he was still kind of confused about the divorce and everything and wasn't really sure. So even though he liked me, he was kind of reluctant to accept me. So he kind of kept me at a distance. They all three kept me at a distance. The oldest boy was probably like this. The middle boy was like this. The youngest boy, at first, he was like this. And then as time passed, he started growing like that. So when we got married, the youngest boy was 3. Now, he didn't have a clue on what was going on. He didn't know anything about divorce or remarried. All he knew was Mama is married to Joey. And I have 2 dads. I have my real dad that I go to on some weekends, and I go home, and my mom's married to a guy named Joey. He really didn't know what it means, so it took a while for us to understand that. Had I read this book, and this book, and this book 14 years ago, all of this would have been easier. So I would say, if you don't take away anything from this video, take away this. Read these books. Read these books. Dads, stepdads, read this book. This is the first book you need to read. The tools you need to be a great stepdad. This book. Ron Deal, Smart Stepdad. And if you have mothers out there, if you're going to be a stepmother, they have the same thing, Smart Stepmom. Ron Deal. And this one. Smart Stepfamily. 7 Steps to a Healthy Family. Read this book before you get married and start a blended family, a step family, to where you're going to be a stepdad or a stepmom. So let me read some things here, and then I'm going to talk about some of my experiences. Ron Deal, and I'm quoting from his book, he starts off chapter 1 by reading Exodus 14, 11 through 13, to where the people, they complain to Moses. Is it because there are no graves that you have taken us away to die in the wilderness? What have you done to us in bringing us out of Egypt? Is not this what we said to you in Egypt? Leave us alone, that we may serve the Egyptians. For it would have been better for us to serve the Egyptians than to die in the wilderness. And Moses said to the people, fear not and stand firm, and see the salvation of the Lord, which he will work for you today. Ron Deal goes on to say in here that remarriage or a stepfamily marriage, most likely for adults, seems like their second chance, maybe even the third chance on life. Your first chance at marriage failed. This is your second chance. I'm going to get it right. It's going to be great. But then you find it being remarried and having kids that are not your kids, so you have to mold your life around and you have to adapt to them, and they kind of have to adapt to you, but more so the adult. The adult needs to adapt to the new kids first. That life can be like being in the wilderness. Sometimes you can think, what have I gotten myself into? And I thought about that a lot. There were many times where I thought, what have I gotten myself into? I can't do this. I don't have the strength to do this. Had I read this book, it would have been a little bit more easier. It would have been better. I don't think this book would have solved all my problems. It would have given me some more tools. But there were a lot of struggles. One of the struggles were sometimes I guess I expected the boys to accept me just like their dad. And I guess I didn't really hope that they would see me as their dad, but sometimes they would see me just as the opposite. They would think, well, he's not my dad, so if I don't want to listen to him, or if I don't want to do what he says, I'm not going to. Sometimes I would think, what is wrong with me that they want to do that? They just don't like me. Is it because they don't like me that they're doing that? But later on, I would realize it wasn't because they didn't like me. And as a matter of fact, in the book, Ron Deal says that whatever I was experiencing was normal in most step families. Ron Deal says it takes 5 to 7 years for parents and step parents and the kids in that dynamic to form a real blended family. And that doesn't mean it's going to be perfect. That means it's going to be easier. It takes 7 years to blend in a blended family. But until then, it can feel like you're wandering through the wilderness. And Ron Deal says here, the journey in your blended family has some unexpected turns. Just when you think things are going good, you have some difficulties. And stepdad, you're going to have some difficulties. You're going to have some difficulties dealing with the biological dad. And not necessarily because he's hostile towards you. It might be because you have to realize your place. You're not the dad. And if the kids still have a good relationship with the biological dad, it may lessen you in their mind, but it's not going to lessen the love you have for them. It's not going to lessen the love that the kid has for you. He won't see you the same way he sees the biological dad. And I didn't understand that at first. But had I read these books, it would have made things easier. So that's my point. The whole point, read these books. Read these books. Like the Israelites, and I'm going back to Ron Deal's book. Like the Israelites, people sometimes think, is this marriage going to die? Who's to blame for bringing me in the wilderness? I feel trapped. Maybe it would be better to stay in Egypt. Meanwhile, the daily grind of step family life continues and progress is slow. Seems like being lost in the wilderness. And sometimes it does seem like it's being lost in the wilderness sometimes. Sometimes it feels like that the failures of a stepdad is like you're lost in the wilderness and like it's not going to get any better. So I'm done with that book. But you got to realize that it takes time, and you got the whole blended thing. You have to blend. You can't just force your ways on the kids, and the kids just can't force their ways on you. The kid can't expect the stepdad to just instantly do what the kid wants or to act like the kid wants. And sometimes the child needs to adapt to the new parent also. One of the things that Ron Deal talks about is how the biological parent, whether it be the mother or the father, needs to be the primary disciplinary, have the primary role of discipline in the child's life. So in our case, that would be Lori, the mother. She should be the primary disciplinarian of the boys, and I should establish a relationship. And so here's how I see it. You got the disciplinarian, biological parent, and then you got the step parent, who starts off as establishing roles, establishing relationships. And then as time grows, those two roles, disciplinary and the relationship, they merge. And then you eventually get to the point to where you can discipline with a good relationship. If you don't establish that relationship, you trying to go in there and discipline is not going to work. And I found that out. Not so much with the oldest boy, because he was only with us for about 6 or 7 years. And then he transitioned in his own life. And now that he's 25 years old, he's married, and he has 2 little girls, sweet little girls, our grandbabies. He and I have a good relationship. We kind of have the male bondness that you want between a father and a son, and more like friendship. And he'll ask me for advice, and I ask him how he's doing, and we'll talk about sports and just sit down and have a good, enjoyable conversation. And our second boy, Carter, he just turned 20. He's going to college, and we're not as close as I am with the oldest boy, but we have a good relationship. And he will come to me asking for advice, but he won't he still doesn't see me as a primary disciplinarian. But there are times when I've had to tell him, Carter, this is not the way you should act, and he respects that. But it took some time. It didn't happen overnight. I had to go from the relationship role, where the mother was a disciplinarian, and those roles had to merge slowly over time. You can't just jump in there on day one and start telling the kids where they're wrong and telling them what to do and being bossy and disciplinarian. You can't do that. And that was something I had to learn the hard way. And then the youngest boy, he was strong-willed, hard-headed, stubborn. So it was a struggle for us. And it got better over time. We're going to talk about that. So I'm going to read some highlights here from the book, Building Love Together in Blended Families. One of the things that this book talks about is knowing the love languages of their spouse. So Lori, she took a test and learned my love language, and I took a test to learn her love language. And it's that 5 Love Languages by Gary Chapman. You may have heard that before. If you haven't, you can buy the separate book, or you can buy this book. I recommend, if you're in a blended family, if you're a stepmom or if you're a stepdad, buy this book. Learn what the 5 love languages mean and how that can help you in your role as a stepdad or stepmom. And there's also love languages for teenagers. So had I known this, I could have had our boys take the love languages, and I would have known, okay, they like getting gifts. The oldest boy, he likes acts of service. Or the oldest boy likes a quality time. The oldest boy liked quality time. To where the second boy, he likes the words of affirmation, or acts of service, or whatever it is. You learn what it is that's going to help you better be a better step parent to your kids, to your stepkids. So had I known that one of the boys, one of their love languages, if they weren't strong in quality touch, I wouldn't try to hug them all the time. So if you go up to one of your stepkids and you just want to hug them, let's say you have your own kids, and your own biological kids, they love hugs. But you go up to your stepkid and you try to hug them, and they kind of like, they push back. Like, I don't want to be hugged right now. It might not be their love language. You might just, high five or just thumbs up. And don't feel bad. You're like, I just don't know. That thumbs up doesn't seem right. I want to hug them like I hug my own kid. You might be doing more harm to your relationship, forcing things on them that they don't want. If they don't want to hug, don't hug them. And they may eventually come around. Or they may, I appreciate, stepdad, that you don't hug me. Thumbs up. All right, that's our thing, thumbs up. Okay. Or if you think, I'm going to give my stepkid a bunch of gifts. You constantly buy your stepkid gifts. Gift after gift after gift. And their attitude toward you doesn't change. And you think, I don't understand why my stepkid doesn't accept me. I'm always buying them something. Then you go look in the closet and you open the door, and all those gifts are just piled up on top of each other. That's not their love language. Buying them gifts is not what they want. Find out what your kid wants from you and build on that. Learn their love language. So that's something that you can learn here. One stepmom said, I don't understand my stepkid's love language. I'm quoting from the book here. I don't understand my kid's love language. They don't understand mine, nor do they make any effort. I get the impression they think I don't have any feelings. There are seasons where most step parents feel that they do the most of the giving and they get little in return. And there were some times when I was like, Well, I'm trying my best. I'm trying my best, but them boys are not responding. Maybe I was trying the wrong way. Maybe I just need to step back. Sometimes you got to let the kids take the initiative. There might be a lot of quiet time. There might be a quiet period for days or months to where there's not a lot of interaction. But something I've learned as a step parent, you can't force interaction with your kids. You can't force it. It's got to come in a natural way. They got to learn how to earn you got to earn their respect. Step parenting is hard. Quote from the book, it is hard, but it's worth it. You have all the responsibilities of caring for a child, but the one thing you don't have, you got the expenses and responsibilities and the obligations, but you don't have the respect that the biological parent has. And something that, would frustrate me sometimes is I'm with these boys 5 out of 10 out of 14 days a week. And the 4 days they go to their dads, it's like he's the greatest thing ever. And I'm not disrespecting the dad, and I'm glad that he was thought so highly of, and he should. They should have the biological parent and the biological kids. They should have a good relationship, and I never wanted to take anything away from that. Never spoke bad about their dad in front of them, but I just didn't understand. Why don't they show me the same feelings, the same respect, how come I don't get the same treatment? I get less. And as I read these books, I understood that that's normal. That's normal. So if you're thinking, that's me as a stepdad, that's normal. Don't take it personal. Don't take it personal. I wish I'd read these books. If I'd read this book, I would realize what I'm going through is normal. Don't get upset about it. Biological parents, sometimes the biological parents don't appreciate how hard it is for stepdads. Sometimes my wife really didn't understand, or I perceived that, but now I think she does. But I think she would say, I don't understand how I'm supposed to make it better. She would say, I just can't jump in there and make it better. For being a stepdad, sometimes it's hard to want to do more when the stepkid doesn't show that your efforts are being recognized, and they just don't know they need to do that. So here's the bottom line. Here's the bottom line, and I'm gonna wrap this up. Here's the bottom line. Your kids didn't ask for this. If you marry somebody with kids, or let's say you have kids and you get divorced and you bring another spouse into this, and that spouse becomes a step parent. Those kids didn't ask for that step parent. They didn't ask for you to get married again, even if they like it. They may say, I'm perfect. I'm fine with the mom and dad I got right now, even though they're not together. I don't need another dad. I don't need another mom. They didn't ask for that. So you can't expect them to just snap their fingers and, hey, I'm your dad, you better like it. I didn't ask for this. I didn't ask for another dad. I didn't ask for another mom. That's where you need to start at. You need to start with that understanding. They didn't ask for another stepdad. And so I wish that had I read this book, it might have helped. So start with that understanding. They didn't ask for another parent. And then build off of that. And then once you get a good relationship established, it'll be easier to form a bond. And that bond's going to get tighter and tighter and tighter. Until, like I said, eventually to where you can blend that parenting role with the relationship role, and you can become almost like the real parent, but without it being forced upon the kid or it being forced upon you. So something that happened to me, and I'm about to wrap this up. Something that happened to me recently, almost a year ago, is for various reasons. Mainly the number one reason is our boy is close to he's a senior this year, starting the next year in school. And he is probably going to still live with us through his early adult years as he goes to college or tries to establish working and making it on his own. So Lori and I talked. This is the main reason, with others that we're just not going to discuss in this video, but the main reason for me wanting to adopt him. We talked, hey, we just want to make sure that if, God forbid, something ever happens to his mom, that he can still stay with me and I can still be responsible for him and take care of him, and he can stay in his home that he's been living in for the past 13, 14 years. And he don't have to be taken away and moved to another family member. And it might necessarily not be with his dad. If he's taken away from me, he may not go with his biological dad. He may go with an aunt and uncle or somebody else. So about this time last year, I initiated the process of adopting him. And around November, I think it was in October, November, we finally got the paper signed and we got the adoption certified by the judge. We got a birth certificate and he's got his driver's license with his new adopted name. And so that's gone through. So he now shares the same name as me, and the birth certificate has me on it as the dad, even though I'm not the biological dad. If you look at the birth certificate, you assume, hey, that's his dad. Then there's no hard feelings between me and his biological dad. I talked to him. I wanted to make sure I talked to him first. I was like, are you okay with me doing this? And he said, okay, I'm okay, but let me talk to him. So he talked to our boy. And so we all made sure we came into agreement. This is what we're going to do. So we did that. So to me, all the struggles that I've had with the boys, especially the youngest boy, the fact that I was able to adopt him, the youngest boy, who will be 17 next month, 17. So we've been together 14 years since he was a little bitty kid. And like I said, when we got married, he didn't know what was going on. The oldest one did. The oldest one knew mom and dad got divorced for whatever reason. The youngest boy is like, they're not together, not really sure why. I guess this divorce thing, I don't know what that means. But I guess I got two dads and now I got two moms. So the second boy, kind of knew but didn't. But the youngest boy, 3 years old, he didn't know what was going on. But he does now. Now he knows that, hey, this guy that became my stepdad, he cared enough to adopt me to make sure that I'm taken care of. He's going to take care of me the rest of my life. So from the wilderness of getting married and being a stepdad and having a lot of unknowns and struggles, and sometimes I'm thinking, what have I got myself into? To where the highlight, to where you know that you're gotten it right. I know that I've gotten this right as a stepdad till I get to the point where I've adopted my youngest boy. So, hey, if you're in a situation like this, please comment and like and share this video with somebody. Subscribe to my channel. If you have a story to tell, just please comment about being a stepdad or stepmom. If you have any questions, please let me know. I'll be glad to help you. So God bless you and thank you.